Nope, hang on. Nope, it's recording. Okay.
Okay, okay,
We
thank you.
will record it,
Great.
and I'll send you a link to it. I'll put it up on the YouTube here.
Okay,
But
sorry to interrupt.
Just to kind of follow up. Yeah, no problem. Just to follow up a little bit here. There are multiple video-based training modules up here. The introduction, which again, like is what we're talking about today. The basics goes through every button, field, and everything on the screen, how to use it. Developing an operational plan, what does it look like? What are all the elements of it? The performance monitoring part we're talking about, the dashboard and such. And then for people like Joan or other administrators, there's admin level training about managing users and that sort of thing in the system. So that's always available to you 24/7. Let's go back to where we were here.
Yeah.
My groups tab. So the main menu, again, we are at our USA Public Health, and I'm at the groups menu here. Now, if you'll notice, these tabs are exactly like that pyramid flipped on its left side. So the organization, group, services, goals, objectives, and activities here. So if I go down from the groups, I've selected community health, and you notice they have this level number over here. The groups are all hierarchical, just like your org chart would be. So at the very top is your department typically. Underneath that, your primary plans are typically level 2 groups, a level 2 group community health, and then under community health, you see a couple of level 3 groups. So they report to community health. So you can see it's hierarchical in structure. You can go up to 10 levels deep on those groups. Most people don't ever get past 4 or 5, but it is capable of going that deep if you want to. Now, under community health, you mentioned there are services and initiatives. So these are the 6 services / initiatives that community health provides. And today we're going to talk about the Safe Kids program. And specifically, we're going to talk about the car seat program. We're going to develop out an operational plan. We're going to walk through it and take it through the PDCA cycle and everything. So under Safe Kids, we have a set of goals. We're going to talk again about this first one, promote and provide child passenger safety education and resources, being the car seat program, to the community at large. Now, as we go down the pyramid, you're going to notice we're going to get more and more detail. So number one, we have these traffic lights sitting out here. It's kind of important to use these because it gives everybody a visual indication of how we're moving along. So let me kind of define what we usually use them for. You can define them any way you want to, but typically green indicates things are moving forward as expected. If it's green, you typically don't have to monitor it too good because you know it's moving as expected. When you move it to yellow, that means there's a potential issue coming up. You know, maybe somebody's going to be going out on leave. Somebody's going to be leaving the department, something like that. So you're going to flag that as a yellow and say, you know, based on this, there's a potential we may not get this thing done on time, something along that line. Red would mean that, you know, what you projected was going to happen did happen and came to a screeching halt. You lost a critical resource or something along that line. Then the gold bar is obviously not a traffic light, but what that indicates is successful completion. So in a lot of cases, what you're trying to do is go from the beginning where you're moving along, maybe in green, and then eventually get to that gold bar saying, I've completed this particular, in this case, this particular goal. So underneath, and by the way, this is something else you'll see in all of the fields moving forward here, is the notes and comments field. What that is a communication vehicle across everybody who's looking at this particular plan. So within your plan, you can go in there and say, okay, I'm going to change this to a yellow because it appears like we're going to lose a critical resource to this. We haven't lost it yet, but we're doing that. Now, what happens is everybody else who looks at that can look at the yellow light and say, I wonder what's going on. They go down to the notes field, and there it is. That's what's going on in there. So now underneath this particular goal, we're going to have a set of objectives. And we're going to talk about this first one. By November 30th, Safe Kids USA will distribute 20 car seats per week to families through these various programs. So when we get to the objective level, we're looking at a very defined target. So we call objectives SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So within a specific time frame, we're going to accomplish a specific thing. Now the objective, again, is still that target. So if we go down to the bottom, when we take a look down here, we have the objective itself. We have, again, those notes and comments. And then we also now have the ability to assign an objective to a person. And this is where a lot of you guys are going to come in here, is at the objective and activity level assignments here. So what I can do to assign this is just click on the little down arrow. Right now it's showing me people just within my community health division. So my rollover down here, you can see if I roll over, I can see, you know, exactly what I'm looking for, what service are we looking at, that sort of thing. But if I want to show people across the entire department, I can click on this. It shows me everybody across the department. So right now we've assigned Diane Cox from Community Health as the objective lead. Diane's job is more of a project manager, program manager, something along that line. Her job is to make this car seat program successful, but not necessarily the person who's going to be doing them. Could be, but not necessarily. So that's the objective. Again, that's the target. Down here then, under the objective, we have the set of steps we're going to go through to get to that target, the activities. So let's walk down through these and we'll talk about this data down here at the bottom. So number one, establish funding. Obviously, 20 car seats a week is a lot of money. Somebody's going to have to fund that. So we're going to go to the Safe Kids program and ask them to provide us a grant to fund the program here. Down here at the bottom, when we nail down the activities, we have a lot of information around each activity. So first of all, we have an activity description. Secondly, we have a performance metric. The performance metric is critical because it defines what exactly do I have to do to accomplish this activity? What is going to make this successful getting there? So we're looking for establishing funding. Once we've acquired funding, obviously we've finished this particular activity. We also have a date range, which says between this date and this date, we're going to accomplish this activity. And these things are all variable. Some things happen, like COVID gets in the way, so you're going to be able to go in and make changes to that. And if you do that, you're probably going to put a note down here. It says, move the ending date out because COVID has exhausted all of our resources or something. And then this particular type of activity, this project-based activity, and we'll talk about the other ones here in a second, the project-based activity is measured by percent complete. So how far along are we? So let's say we had accomplished about 50% of the funding we needed for the program. You might put 50% in there just saying that we're halfway through there. Once you get to 100%, it automatically sets the traffic light to gold for you so you know that you've completed that. The other thing we have down here in the bottom left corner are those assignments again. Like we did with the objective lead, we also have the ability to assign activity leads. So I click on the little pencil icon. Again, I'm going to open it up to the entire department here, not just community health. So what we have are these three columns over here. We have the people. These are all the people within our little USA Public Health Department. On the far left, we have the team members. So these are all the people involved in this activity. The next column, team lead, is the person who's leading the team to get to this activity here. You show up here one team lead, but there is an option to have multiple team leads, and it makes sense in some cases where you got multiple folks or across different times or something along that line. And then this third one we'll talk a lot about, and that is the email notification. So what happens is the person or people that you assign to get the email are going to, on a regular basis, get an email from the system that says, please update these activities or these objectives that you've been assigned. You're going to go through what we call a quick update system, and I'll show you that in a few minutes here. And you're going to be able to update that information very, very quickly. Literally 3 to 5 minutes a month is typically what it takes to keep that information up to date. Again, you can have multiple folks receiving the emails if you choose to. Most often it's a team of people, a single lead, and a single email recipient. But again, that's all variable. If you want to track the resources involved in doing a particular activity or goal or objective, you can go over here and start using the FTE field, full-time equivalent. So in this case, we have Diane and Mara each showing a 0.1 FTE, which equates to about a full-time employment, about 4 hours per week for each of them to do that. And what we do with that information is we just roll it up the pyramid. So at any level, you can look and see the resource it's taking. So if I go back to our activity here, you'll see the 0.2 FTE right here. If I go back up to the objective that covers all of these activities, down here you'll see the 0.6 FTE. So what we can do is look at that and determine, the human cost is typically the biggest cost in any project. So how much are we going to have to invest in this project? And, is there a good return on that investment for the public, whether it's a financial return or just a return in being able to provide a service to the public in there. So the FTE field is the ability to just add up the resources that you're using in there. So
and I will interject that I have not entered any of that. No FTE counts, just to let people know.
Yeah, that's typically something you'll go back to after the fact, after you get the plans up and running and moving, and somebody comes in and says, what's it costing us to do this program, something like that. So it's just an optional tool for you in there. Okay, so that's the first one is funding. Our second one then is we're going to go out and hire a car seat installation company so we don't have public health people doing car seat installations. Now down here at the bottom, we have the ability to attach those external partners. So there's an external partner database that you guys manage off the main menu, but I can go in here now and say, okay, I'm going to choose Andrea's car seat installation and Andrea Schoen as my contact in there. So what we've done right now is attached Andrea Schoen and Andrea's car seat installation as the partner to complete this particular activity, which is, to actually install the car seats here. If we choose to, we can also make Andrea a system user, which then allows her to be the person getting that email notification to be able to update the number of car seats installed each week or something along that line. So that's activity number 2. So number 3 then, now that we've got funding, we've got somebody to manage the program, we've got to get the word out. So we got this great car seat program that nobody knows about. So we're going to go to our PIO office and we're going to have them kind of generate a marketing campaign. They're going to focus on specific neighborhoods that fit that financial demographic. If you make under a certain amount, then you can get free car seats. So they're going to focus on that, and they're going to get the word out so people know that they can go to Andrea and get a free car seat in there. And then the next activity is kind of like the bottom line. It says Andrea's car seat will install 20 car seats a week. So what we just did in the last 5 minutes is we built an operational plan to manage the car seat program here. So if I take you back to the pyramid, it looks like this. Remember, the group was community health division. So this is all hierarchical, remember? So that's why it's getting really, really wide at the bottom here. The service we talk about is Safe Kids. Our goal here is to provide car seats to those that can't afford them. That's SMART objectives. Again, by November 30th, distribute 20 car seats a week to families through the various programs. And then the activities, we're going to find funding, going to hire an installation partner, going to create awareness, and we're actually going to install the car seat. So that's the operational planning process. It really is very simple. Now, you guys already have, obviously, your 6-pack of plans at one level completed. So the idea is to be able to go in and take those. And a lot of cases, by the way, it's copy and paste. You're going to copy and paste it right into the system, structure it down to the activity level, assign your folks, and away you go. Now, we're going to take this plan through the PDCA cycle so you can see how all that works. So again, what we just did is the P part, the planning. So we've got that good operational plan in place. Now, let's go execute the plan. So what we're going to do is go through, obviously nailing down our funding, get that done, get Andrea on board to do the installation of the car seats, go to the PIO office and let them get the word out so that people know that we're, have this great program that they can get the free car seats in here. In the background, what we're going to do is turn on this thing we call real-time planning. That's what that email notification is all about. What we're going to do in this case maybe is set up an email notification, let's say on a weekly basis. So maybe every Monday morning, Andrea will get an email from the system that says, how many car seats did you install last week? There's a place in there she'll put in, say 21 car seats and hit save. She's done. That's all there is to it. So maybe we've taken a grand total of 1 minute of her time. What that did for you is saved whoever's in the department managing the car seat program from calling, texting, emailing Andrea, waiting for a response. Oh, she's out, on leave today or whatever that happens to be. So it allows you to collect that data automatically so that you can just go back in and say, how are we doing on this program? So that's going to happen, say over and over and over every week. Say we get about 10, 12 weeks into the program and somebody comes up and says, hey, Joe, how's that car seat program working out? Let's we go into the check phase. The check phase is just going to be seeing how we're doing against our plan. So if I go back over here and looking at this particular activity, I can go down and click on this little chart button right here. And that shows us exactly how we've done. So first thing, the blue line. These are the data points that we've asked Andrea to enter every week for us. The green line is that target number we set of 20. The red line is kind of a safety zone. It just says, if I drop below this line, something's gone wrong, so I need to be notified. So what we do is every time Andrea enters a data point, it compares it to the red line and the green line. If it's below the red line, it turns the traffic light to red for you. If it's in between, it turns it to yellow. And if you get past the green line, it sets it at green. So as you can see, it took about 4 or 5 weeks to ramp up to our target number. And it looks like we're kicking right along about 21, 22 car seats a week. Kind of exactly what we thought would happen here. Now, that was the check phase. We went in, we looked at it, everything is good. We're going to move on to the adjust phase. In the adjust phase, there's typically 4 scenarios. Number one is what you just saw. Everything's working beautifully. Don't need to change a thing. Going to move on through the cycle. You determine what the cycle is. It could be weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you decide. If you get back to the check page, you look at the chart, everything's still good, you move on. Now, let's go back and switch up just a little bit here. I'm going to pick this activity now as being our bottom line activity. Go back and look at my chart. First thing you notice is this yellow light. And remember what we talked about. The yellow light says we're in between the red and the green line. Let's verify that. Sure enough, ramped up over about the same period, but capped off at about 15 car seats. So now we have another piece of information we didn't have before. That is, we're not quite making our plan. What we don't know at this point in time is why. So let's go figure that out. Back to our activities. Let's just walk through them. Number one, funding stream. Gold bar, we got it nailed, we're done. Number two, relationship with local installer. You see we've got Andrea's car seats on board here, gold bar, we're done. Number three, PIO off's going to do our marketing for us. Well, we've got a yellow light here indicating got some kind of an issue. That's where the notes field comes in. So it may not be reaching the proper demographic, or the plan is set too high. So one of a couple different potential issues in here that we got to look at here. So what I'd probably do at this point in time is I'd grab a copy of that chart. I'd walk over to the PIO office, sit down with them and say, you know, we all sat down, we built this plan together. We all thought 20 was a good number. We're only getting to 15. What do you think? So maybe here's the first answer you get from our PIO folks is, well, here's what we're doing. We had these beautiful posters that you see up here on the wall. We've had those made. We've taken them out to all the shopping centers and all of those, towns that we talked about that, fit the financial demographic pretty well. So people go shopping, they see these, hey, I can get a beautiful free car seat in here. Great. Okay. We've gone out through social media. If you like the Nextdoor app, putting some advertising out there. Gone out to the local newspapers, put some advertising out there. So overall, we think we're doing a pretty darn good job of getting the word out. Do you think maybe we just overestimated the target number here? So now, what has just happened is the ability to change a plan in real time. As you know, as you're developing plans, most plans are somewhere between a fiscal year long and maybe your chip is 5 years long, something like that. A lot of times what happens is we develop those beautiful plans, we put them on a shelf. At the end of the fiscal year, we go back and look and say, how did we do? What this does is keep the plans alive using that real-time planning process. Keeps the input coming back all the time, so in real time how you're doing on the plan. And if in fact you go back and determine that the plan is just a little bit too aggressive, you can now adjust the plan in there. You put the notes in there and say we adjust it because the real number seems to be about 15, and you made the adjustment. So that's kind of phase number two. Let's say we got a different answer for PIO. Well, yeah, you guys came to us a little while back to get this marketing going here. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of staff turnover recently. The good news is we just hired a new guy. His name is Bill. Bill's kind of an expert in this area, so we turned him loose on it. Kind of the bad news is that he's only been doing it for a week or two. So we need to give Bill more time to get this ramped up. So that's kind of the third scenario, is that we need additional resources. So resources to get to our target number. In this case, Bill, and giving Bill a bit more time. And I mentioned the fourth scenario. The fourth scenario is very common, and that is that, maybe we overestimated on the plan a little bit here, yet we also need more resources to get there. So in this case, let's say we take the plan to 17, we put Bill in there, we get Bill some more time, and let's go ahead and bring in an external contractor just to help Bill to get ramped up to speed pretty quickly here. So that's the PDCA cycle. All the plans are going through this. Every piece of our plan is going through this all the time. You can make the adjustments as you move forward to either the plan or the resources or both, and keep those plans alive as you're going forward. This is what FAB loves to see when they're looking at your plans, and then the ability to go through exactly this, keeping these plans up to date so you're always working with real information in real time. At this point, are there any questions? Okay.
Fred, were you planning to dip into our actual?
Yeah, we'll do that
where we are.
If that's okay, Joe. And then I'll let you walk me through where
I didn't know. No, I didn't know what you were planning to do with the rest of the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Fred,
I want to go through.
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I appreciate your thorough presentation of the system. It's been quite a while since we kind of were introduced to this, and I'm sitting here kicking myself, wishing, that we had this at the onset of the pandemic, because I think there's so many things that we could track that, as you and Joan, populated our current one, that we could probably really enhance now that I'm seeing it kind of live again. So I appreciate you taking the time to kind of go through all of those different, dashboards and examples of those. So I just wanted to say thank
Well,
you.
I also want to make you this offer. We've had a lot of health departments who are using the system for tracking pandemic-related activities, like I mentioned, vaccinations and testing and positive tests and negative tests and everything else. It's real simple to build the plan, and if you can work with your partners, your clinics and your hospitals and stuff, and have a designated person up there, they can get that email, and we'll teach them how to do it, by the way. They'll get the email, they can do the updates for you on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, whatever it is. So we're happy to work with you to build out those plans in there, just to keep you guys moving forward. So just let us know if that gives something that you'd like to do.
Yeah, let me think about it, and I'll definitely circle back with you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, let's move on here. Okay. We talked about performance monitoring at many levels. We have the micro level, which you saw, which is that chart, the specific activity. We also have kind of the namesake, which is the dashboard. The dashboard is a macro level tool, so it's the big picture. I want to go in as a supervisor or the head of the department. I want to be able to go in and say, how are we doing in community health, or how are we doing at the entire department level? That's what the dashboard's about. So I'll take you there again live. So right now we are at Community Health Division, and again, this down at the bottom we call the cookie crumb. And it just allows you to roll over, because sometimes you look at a screen and say, where am I? Or you go out to lunch and you come back and say, where was I when I went to lunch? And you can just roll over these down here and see the actual text on any of the goals, objectives, and activities. So just FYI. Now, if I go up here, since I've selected Community Health Division, and click on the little traffic light, it's going to take me to the dashboard screen for community health. So dashboards are at the group level. So I can have a dashboard for community health and all the subgroups under community health, or I can go to the department level and look at all the subgroups in the entire department if I want to. It's pretty simple up here. First of all, this top left corner is where you typically want to start looking. That is what I call the big picture. That is the macro level view of, in this case, of Community Health Division here. I can look at activities or objectives or goals, and that's why it's important to keep the traffic lights up to date, so that you can look at that and say, yeah, I'm 90% green or gold over here, and this gauge is showing me where I am relative to our schedule. Remember, we had a beginning date, ending date, and percent complete at the activity level here. We can go in and look at that and say, okay, I'm 96 days ahead of schedule. I'm doing a great job, actually, is what we're saying in there. The other thing you might notice is I get the little clicky finger when I roll over these things, meaning I can drill down to anything on the screen. So if I wanted to know what those 5 activities were that were in yellow status, I can drill right down on them. If I need to make changes, I can do it right there. So it's very simple to get to. So that's the top left corner, the big picture here. Down at the bottom, we have 3 different screens, basically. Number 1 is our leaders, and that is the activity or objective leads that we assigned. And you can look at them and say, okay, we have Diane Cox. Diane was last in the system a couple of days ago on 2/19, and the reason it's green is because it's been within 30 days. When it gets to yellow, it means 60 days. When it's red, it's over 60 days. Here's that FTE roll up here by person. So now, sometimes you want to be able to look, maybe even from an HR perspective and say, how loaded is this person? Maybe you're starting to see signs of overload in a person, and maybe somebody contemplating leaving the organization because it's too stressful or something. When you get people up into a 1.25, 1.5 type FTE, you're talking about doing the work of 1 1/4, 1.5 people. So that sometimes stresses people out. So you can look at that. I can again click on this. I can see every activity Diane's been assigned. I can reassign them to other people, drop the FTE numbers, whatever I need to do to try to get her down to that magical 1.0 FTE. The lagging column is showing me activities that are behind schedule. And obviously, if you have a beginning date, ending date, and a percent complete, it's easy to calculate whether you're on schedule or not. And it's color-coded as to how far. The days is the same as the schedule gauge up here, but for the individual person. So how's each person doing against their assigned schedule? Overdue is just that. Ending date is come and gone. We're not yet complete. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold for that person. So just by looking across one row, you get a great snapshot of the performance of that person, which is really key. Now, you can have the same information for groups. So remember the group screen that had the org chart. I can look at each group and see how they're performing. Or I can look at this last one, which is very unique, and that is the strategic priorities from your strategic plan. Now, the strategic plan is the big picture for the whole department. It's what we're doing moving forward. What you want to make sure that you're doing is everything else in the department is supporting your strategic plan. So through the categorization process, you can go in, and we'll talk about this in a minute, you can go in and categorize everything against the strategic priorities in your strategic plan. Then you go back and look and say, how well are we supporting our strategic plan? So it's another view. Up here in the top right corner says my priorities. My priorities are individual items that you want to keep your eye on. They're objectives. And what I typically see down here are reds and yellows, because if they're green and gold, they're either done or they're on track. But if the things I just want to keep my eye on, I can go in here and click on that. I can go down and look at the objective and find out, why it's red or why it's yellow up there. There's a little flag you can set and unset and get it off here if you want to. But it's just things that you personally, typically as a supervisor, just want to keep your eye on, see how things are going. Like maybe you've done an assignment to a lot of folks at the activity level, and you're just waiting for them to finish up the activity so that you can get this thing back to a green. So that's the dashboard screen. It's really a nice tool. If you want to make this your home page when you log in, you just click this little button up here. What that tells the system is, when I log in, take me right to my home page. Document management. Won't go into great detail on this, but this is there for, originally developed for FAB, because when you're doing accreditation, reaccreditation, you have hundreds and hundreds of documents that you submit, and sometimes just managing those is a real pain. So what we do is bring them all together in one place. You actually attach documents where they belong. So we have a FAB reaccreditation plan. We'll show you here in a second. You can attach the documents right into where they belong. Which measure does this document apply to? So when you go back to put them up into EFAB, you know exactly where they are. They're not scattered across your network drive and somebody's jump drive and somebody's hard drive, that sort of thing. Very nice tool. It maintains version control and the whole 9 yards. Reporting, there are a boatload of reports in the system. As you get your plans up to date and get them all going in there, you can generate a report and get the infinite detail for that particular plan. Reports look like this. Is the car seat program again. So if I look at the report, it's hierarchical, just like the system. The group level community health, the service safe kids. You can see this green line indicates there's a document attached to the service. You can attach documents anywhere. The goal, underneath the goal, we have the notes in there from that particular goal. We have the objectives, who's leading it, what the status is. And then down here, we have all the activities with all of the detail, the traffic lights and the percent complete and the whole 9 yards. So these reports can be generated at the group level or at an individual service level. So this one would be at an individual service level. It does show the group, obviously, but it just shows this one service. So generate reports, and all the reports are flexible by date range, and I do or don't want to show the notes, or I don't want to show the documents. So lots and lots of stuff, and there's a whole training module on the reporting, but it's very simple. The operational plan report is the most common report, the one you're seeing right here. I mentioned VMSG Public a little earlier. This is just the ability to quickly create a public web page out of anything in the system at any level. I can go from a group level all the way down to an activity level. And let me show you a live page here of this would be, again, the car seat program. The objective level here says we have, and you can see the rollover shows me we have 2 complete, 40%, 2 yellows, and 1 green. I also have that timeline, just like on the dashboard. So it says we're 27 days ahead of schedule on that objective. I can go down to the specific activities. This is that same chart we were looking at, at the micro view. And you can see the rollover shows me the number of activities, in this case, the number of car seats that we actually completed in there. This is point and click. Once you do one of these once and you go through that, maybe even go through training, or I'll be happy to show you how to do it. Very simple to do. You can create one of these web pages in 5 minutes and get as much detail as you want from the entire department all the way down to any activities. You end up with this unique web address up here, URL they call it. I can go in and grab that. I can put it on our public website. I can email that link out to senior management if they want to see a, just a graphic format of performance, that sort of thing. So real simple to do, very nice tool to be able to share that information with public partners, senior management, whoever. Okay, questions at this point? Okay. Three-dimensional planning. I mentioned that there's the ability to categorize things against a specific set of categories and subcategories. The strategic priorities is one of those sets of categories and subcategories, but there's lots of them in there. So for instance, you might want to see how are we doing against public health essential number 1. So what you're going to do is go in and tag through this categorization process, very simple. You're going to go in and tag the pieces of the plans that are related to public health essential number 1. Or in the FAB world, you want to say, what are we doing across the entire department to support FAB Standard 6.1? This is where we talked about the strategic priorities. We're going to go in and tag pieces of plans that are supporting our strategic priority of partnering in this case. And same thing with the documents. Once you get all these documents in there, and literally I've seen people that had over 1,000 documents that they're going to submit up into EFAB. You want to be able to go in and say, these are the 3 documents we're going to submit for Standard 4.2. So you go in and tag those documents. You go back in through what we call a category tag report, pull those documents right out of there, and then submit them up into EFAB. I mentioned there is a reaccreditation project plan in the system. I will take you live there just real quickly. We're not going to go into great detail on it. Oops, get back to my system here. There we go. Okay, back to my groups tab. Down here, you'll see under accreditation, we have FAB accreditation, which is a full accreditation and reaccreditation plan, and then a simplified version, which is just the reaccreditation plan. And I go down here to the services initiatives. You'll see those 7 steps of public health accreditation, which you guys are down here in the reporting and reaccreditation stage right now. Also, if I go look at under each domain, you have the domain 1 reaccreditation measures, and you see the 3 reaccreditation measures there. And the nice thing is, underneath that is a specific set of activities that you need to do to accomplish that measure. So down here, you see we have these 4 activities. Once I do those 4 activities and document them, I'm going to be accomplishing that particular measure. So it's a nice guided way to go through the entire reaccreditation process. This button right here allows me to add the documents to it. So the documents typically are added at the activity level. I click on that. I can click down here, select the document, save it, put some detail in around it, save it in there, and I'm all set. One of the other things that you'll see on a lot of these screens is this source. This is your data source. So in some cases, as you're tracking thing, you want to know, maybe you want to put a link to a CDC webpage in there, the number of COVID vaccinations around the nation or something like that. So you might want to put a link in there. So you can just click on that. It'll give you, describe the data source. And if you want to put a link in there, you can put that link in there. The link then will show up as a little link over here that you can click on. It'll take you to the data source. So it just allows you to track your data sources for any of your goals, objectives, and activities in here. Just real quickly, a lot of people, I know the reaccreditation site visit is going to be a virtual site visit. Probably a lot of them going forward are going to be virtual site visits for accreditation as well. But some people like to go through a mock site visit. So we built a mock site visit tool in there. You bring in somebody from the outside, typically who's a FAB, accreditation person, bring them in, and they walk through that reaccreditation plan. They look at all your documents, and then they go in and grade it. So they go in through this review screen, and they can put in what do you need to do to get to 100% basically. All the stuff, they can grade it with the traffic light, the whole 9 yards. And what that allows you to do then is, as soon as they're done, you can generate a report that says, here's exactly the things we recommend that you do to get ready for your final FAB site visit. So it's just a built-in tool for the accreditation, reaccreditation. I already showed you a little bit about this, but training, help, and information. Here's what I recommend. As you're going through the system, let's say I'm at the services level here, and I'm wondering, what are all these buttons down here? What am I supposed to be doing on this screen? The first step is always to just hit the little blue button up here. So I'm on the services screen. When I hit that, it takes me right down to adding and managing services. First thing it gives me is a set of steps to walk through. So this is kind of what I call the left brain person like myself down here. It's going to walk through. It's going to define what all the buttons are for down here. Down here, you have a link right into the training video, but it goes right to the section of the training video about adding and managing services. So you can go right into that. You know, typically these are really short 5-minute segments, something along that line. Down here is a complete user guide. If you click on that, it pops open a hyperlink PDF file that you can dock on your desktop, print off, whatever you want to do with it. And then down here is a document we keep updated ongoing. And what that is what we call implementation guidelines. And it's kind of best practices from health departments all across the nation that found a unique use or an easier way to do this or that. So we put all that stuff in there, and it's got just lots and lots of information, technical information, as well as planning information, as well as documents that are forms that you can use to create. It's a template for creating an operational plan. So it starts out, you know, at the service level, and you work your way right on down the template, and then you go and copy and paste out of your template into the system. So it just is a different way for some people like to do it. It was developed by actually the health director up in Polk County, Wisconsin. So that's helping information. Again, before we go, we're going to go through one more section here, and then we'll go dig into your plan a little bit here. But any questions before we go into the last section here? So what I'm hoping is I'm doing a really good job of presenting this, and you guys are not all asleep over there. Okay, intelligent real-time.
We're not asleep. You're doing good.
Well, I always tell people when they go through the intro video is don't do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon after a big lunch because you just won't make it. So. Anyhow, okay, intelligent real-time planning. This is something that I don't think gets used enough because I think people don't really understand the scope of what it can do. But when you have all of these plans out there and you say, okay, Joan, keep all these plans up to date, nobody's going to be able to do it. If you have the 6 plans in there for FAB accreditation and you've got hundreds of activities, nobody's going to be able to go out and communicate with all the people and collect the data. The system will do that for you. And here's how it does it. So first thing you're going to do is set up a time frame. Most often, it can be anywhere from daily to monthly. Most often people set it up for once a month because that's typically kind of the cycle that you need. But maybe in you know, COVID world, you might want to do things weekly or sometimes even daily. So you set up that cycle. What happens on that day, let's say it's the first Wednesday of the month. First Wednesday of the month, it's going to send out emails to both internal folks as well as any external partners that you've got assigned in there. And that email is going to have a link in there. It's going to take you back to what we call the quick update screens. Now there's an activity quick update and objective quick update depending on what you're assigned, and it'll walk you through all of them. Again, what we're coming up with right now, and I'll show you just a couple of screenshots in a second, is what we're calling VMSG Mobile. And it will basically give you the ability to do this exact same thing on your phone. There's only a couple of fields you'll update. You'll update in the activity case, you update the activity notes and the percent complete or whatever, and hit save and you're done. And it'll walk you through all your activities and you're done. So, you know, if you're someplace and you don't have access to your computer, you'll be able to bring it up on your phone and do that. So you're going to walk through all of your activities and objectives and log out. Across 240 or however many departments, somewhere around there across the nation, when they do this, it takes somewhere between about 3 to 5 minutes per person per month to keep their activities up to date. So if you think about distributing the workload of keeping everything up to date so that you can manage the department better, it's a small price to pay. If you think about going in once a month, you're going to get an email. It comes out in the middle of the night. In the morning, you're going to have this email, again, on your phone or in your system. You'll click on the link, you'll do your updates, and you're done for the month. And you've contributed back to keeping everything up to date, moving all the plans forward. So that's the real-time planning. The automated email reminder will look like this, and we kind of break it down a couple of days. Number one, it says, here's why I got it. You got to be within 30 days. If you're outside 30 days, you're going to get this email notification regardless. So they want you to be in there at least every 30 days managing stuff. It says you have one activity lagging behind schedule, you have one activity over 2. Okay, that's why you got it. Just kind of as a reminder, it says, here's the number of activities you have in each status, red, yellow, green, and gold. there's a place in there for the administrators like Joan that you'll set up for every group. They'll have a set of administrators. So in this case, we have 3 different administrators set up. So you can contact any one of those people to say, why did I get this email? I can't seem to get in, whatever it happens to be. So you got a point of contact, both the phone number and email. And then down here is the link to get back in the system. So again, if I click on that link, it's going to take me right into the dashboard. It's going to give me the opportunity to go right into the quick update system. So what we're going to do, let me go back a second here. I'm going to actually walk you through that process here. So let's go back to the system. This little red button in the top right corner is log out. So I'm going to go ahead and log out now, log off. It's going to bring me back to my web page here where I'm going to actually go in and log in. So if you get to the VMSG dashboard web page, this link in the top right corner will take you right there. So when you log out, it takes you here. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now, everybody on here has got login credentials, but you probably don't know them at this point in time. So the first thing you're going to do is say, send to me my login credentials. I'm going to say send. I'm going to put in my email address at kce-inc.com, and I'm going to hit send again. I'm going to get a little window that says success, meaning it found my email address, found my account, sent me an email. So I'm going to close that. Now going back to here, email is going to be very simple. It's going to look like this. It says, here's your user ID, here's your password. What we recommend when you go back in is to enter that information and then go directly and change your password, because these passwords look something like this. They're crazy, you know, there's nothing you'll ever remember. So put in whatever password you want when you go in there. And here's how you're going to do that. So I'm going to go back in, hit the login button, and I'm going to put in that information to go log in. I'm going to say, go ahead and log in. And now, if I've been assigned to any activities or objectives, I'm going to get this screen. We're going to walk through the quick update real quick. I either go to the main menu where we've been working, or I'm going to go to the quick update screen. A lot of you will just immediately go to the quick update screen. And it's going to calculate, okay, so here's my activity quick update. Now, it looks kind of complicated because this is all context. So this is the pyramid, the group, the service, the goal, the objective, the activity itself. None of this is changeable in the blue. Down here are the things you can change. I can change the traffic light by cycling through it, put in a number, put in a note, and hit the next one down here. So what it allows me to do then is just to cycle through my activities. However, before you do that, the first thing I'd like you to do is go up here and click on the keys, which is your password. You're going to pop this open. You're going to put in the current password that you copy and pasted out of the email, your new password, verify the new password like every other website in the world, hit update, and you're all set to go. So now you've got a new password. It'll keep you logged in for now. Next time you log in with your new password in there. So on the quick update screen, you got a couple of things up here. Number one is you're going to go in and if you need to change this, you're going to put in a new value here. You can change the traffic light just by cycling through them. You can put in a note. And I do recommend using notes as much as possible because remember, you may remember what happened, but everybody else looking at this may not have a clue. So if you put in a note that says, you know, I changed this to yellow because John is going to be out on leave for a couple of weeks here and he's critical to this process, whatever. I can cycle through those activities. So it's showing me right here, I have 6 activities that I've been assigned. I'm on number 1 of 6. I can cycle through them up here, or I can save and go to the next one down here. If I haven't changed anything, it's just going to go to the next one anyhow. The other thing is we talked about document management. Here's the document management button. So if I want to assign documents to a specific activity, I can just click on here. You can see I have 3 documents already attached to it. I'll just go down and hit the plus button, add my document. It's going to give me a little window to upload a document, put it up in there. You'll put in a name for the document, a real title that's already got the file name in there. Any notes about it, set the traffic light, and you're set to go here. So what that allows you to do then is to tag all the documents for a specific activity, like we talked about the accreditation plan in there. So then the back arrow up here takes me back to where I was. So I cycle through these. So let's go ahead and cycle through the activities. So I'm on number 6 of 6, as you can see. When I go to the next one, I'm out of activities. So do you want to go to the dashboard? Do you want to stay where you are? Or go to the objectives? I'm going to say objectives. And you're going to get a very similar screen, except we're now up here a level at the objective level. So I can put in at the objective. I can put in objective notes, put in the percent complete, the whole 9 yards. I can also look at the activities that are under the objective, and if I want to go and update any of those, I can do it. The dark blue indicates I've been assigned this activity. The gray indicates somebody else has assigned the activity, but I still have access to it because I'm obviously the objective lead in there. So that is pretty much what we want to talk about today. Now I'm going to log out and then log back in so I can get into your guys' account, and then we'll have Joan kind of walk us through some of the stuff that's in there.
While you're doing that, I explained to Fred that in the immediate, what this is doing is replacing the Excel spreadsheet that we had for our performance management plan. And that's all that has been entered so far. And I gave Fred our Excel spreadsheet, and he recommended that we consider performance management plan at the group level. And so it is, you'll see, if you open to groups, there it is. So that's all that you're going to find populated at this point. And then what I've done is, Fred, I can't control this, right? Or can
I?
Oh.
No, but I'll go wherever you want.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and open the performance management plan, if you would?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, let's go look at the report. It'll show us everything that's in there. So I'm going to go to the reports menu up here and click operational plan report. And then it's going to show us starting out with the vision, mission, and values. And then as I scroll down, we're at the objective level. Let's go to the activity level. There we go. So this is what Joan has been working very hard on, is getting the information in here so you can see that administration, human resources, there's a test note, objective 1, complete 100% of grant programs reported within a required time frame annually, who's assigned to it, the specific activities down there, the whole 9 yards. So what would you like to go to, Joan?
Well, I don't know. I did.
This is great, by the way. You've done a lot of work on this.
Yeah, this is fine. You know, I think all I want to say is that the names of the categories are not sort of instinctively matched to what you are calling things. Because what we did was we just used the structure of the performance management plan as we had it. So, you know, there's nothing in there, for instance, for community health as a group or environmental health as a group. So far, only group is the performance management plan.
Okay.
And then really, I think beyond that, this should roll, you know, according to how the old dashboard looked. And so it has, after the group, it's got the objectives and the activities.
Right.
Well, first the services, excuse me, and the goals.
Right.
But you know, you wouldn't think of NVHD as a goal or finance as a goal, but since that's what we had as our structure, that's how it was implemented, even though, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it fits great in there, the way that you got it laid out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's workable, but it doesn't meet the definition of a goal, is what I'm saying.
Right. And yeah, and typically, you know, a goal says, this is what we're trying to accomplish at a higher level. The objectives are the specifics of what we're going to accomplish to meet that goal. And then the activities are what are the steps we're going to go through.
Right. So I think at the objective and the activity level, it works. But they aren't goals. That's really what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, and you might want to look at the goals and, you know, whatever that goal is, manage NVHD grants or something like that might be a way to structure that as a goal. So that would be a goal. And then the objectives as you get underneath that. Yeah, the same thing under finance, complete 100% of grant financials. So manage grant reports for finance or something like that would make that a legitimate goal if you do that.
Okay,
so
well, I guess I'll get
pyramid,
feedback from people internally as to whether that's important. You know, I think what would be helpful, and I don't know if people have more time, but maybe is to dig into one of those and just give an example of how somebody would change it, modify it in order to report on it. But let's not do finance because Lisa's not here, so that's not a good example. Let's go to the environmental health measures because Melanie is on the line.
Okay, so we're on service initiative, environmental health measures. We're going to go down to the goals. So we have one goal, environmental health.
Okay.
The objectives. Okay, there's 7 objectives down here. Now at this point in time, Melanie, you could go in here and change the traffic light, and this says complete 95% of food inspections in all 4 classification categories. If you're way below that, you might want to mark that as yellow, put a note in here. It says, due to COVID, we've had limited resources to do this or whatever happens to be in there. You can change that. Yeah.
But go to the more detailed level. Go to the activity level from the one that you're talking about. Okay, so I broke it down the way that we've had it in our plan, which is for each of the classes. So now if Melanie changes each of those classes and 2 of them are complete and 2 of them are at 50%, is that going to roll up to changing the objective level? Or does she have to change it at the objective level?
Well, here's the roll-up feature over here. So these are all QM activities. So I'm going to go select those to roll up. And now when I go back to that objective, down here in the bottom right corner, it says, since there's nothing in there, but you can look at the sum or the average of all of those particular activities over here. So that's where that rolls up to.
I'm just trying to figure out how people will feel informed to be able to use this now when we turn it on, which it hasn't been yet. I mean, nobody's been triggered to do anything. What questions
What do you mean by
people
that?
have? What do I mean by what?
When you say
we haven't been sending any emails yet.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing is,
I assume I have to turn on this. Do I have to turn on the system to say start sending emails to people at some?
Let me show you that right here. Don't say. Let me go in here to settings, and then notifications. You do have emails going out right now on week 1 of the month on Tuesday.
Has anybody received one? No.
Well, until you assign them at the activity and objective level, nobody would get one.
They have been assigned.
Yeah. Have they been assigned for over a couple of weeks?
I don't know. Some of them. I mean, it's been a work in progress over the last couple of weeks.
Because this would have been the first Tuesday of February that they went out, and if you've assigned them since then, the next, the first Tuesday of March is when I get it. And you can change this to anything you want. You can say, twice a month, every day, whatever you want. You can say multiple days of the week, but that's where you set it up, is under settings, notifications.
How often do people think that we should trigger this? Monthly, like we have been doing?
I can tell you the most common is monthly. A couple of people do it, bi-weekly or weekly, but for the most part, most of the departments do it once a month.
Any feedback? Jess, Carissa, Melanie? I don't know what's happened. Have we lost people?
Are you saying to update all the data monthly? Is that what you're saying, Joan?
I'm saying for you to be asked, where do you stand on the activities and the objectives and activities that have your accountability?
So, yes, some of mine, so for example, pools, if you were to send me that out monthly, I only inspect them twice a year.
Right. So you probably, Fred, in that case, I mean, if some of our measures are monthly and some are less frequent, none are more frequent at this point. So I think, though, we have to set this to be an interval that applies to all of the measures, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
So
and the ones that are,
Set it,
go ahead.
so if we set it monthly, then Melanie would just ignore the ones that she didn't need to report on monthly. Is that correct?
At the objective level, yes. If she's assigned at the objective level, then she can look at that and say, no, we're still the same. We were whatever the objective percent done was. At the activity level, it's going to be based on the whether you're
Calendar.
on track. So if you're overdue or you're behind track on it, and it depends on how you set the date. So if you set them for every 6 months, she's not even going to get a notification on it, but every 6 months when it comes either delinquent or not delinquent, but behind schedule or overdue, then she'll get the notification to update it at the activity level.
Okay, and some of these, Melanie, for instance, for yours, I've set annually.
Right.
So I guess, Fred, you're saying she will not get that notice except if the annual was set for 10/1, then she'll get it 10/1. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, exactly. Or whatever the scheduled date is after 10/1. If 10/1 is the first Tuesday of the month in your case, then she'll get it then. If it's 10/2, 10/3, she'll get it then.
I think we're going to have to start using this to understand how it works.
That's really the case. You're going to have to get it out to people. I think just by what we went through, they understand. Go into a quick update and just look at them and update them, scan through them. Even if you don't update them, go look through them and see what is there, what you could be updating. Maybe have a conversation if we need any more help on the training or anything like that. But yeah, it'll all come around as people start getting it and say, yeah, this is the right time cycle for me, and I'm going to update this. And again, it's going to take a couple of minutes a month to do it.
I just hope that it's been entered in a way that is going to make sense. And, we'll see.
And that, Joe, that might be a conversation to have with the activity and objective leads. And said, if I sent this to you, you can generate a report for them and say, if I sent this to you, would you know what I'm looking for to update this? Or is this the right thing to be measuring for this particular thing? And maybe you tweak the wording or something to make it fit with exactly what they're typically been measuring.
Yeah, and we've done some of that in anticipation of loading it into the system. So hopefully some of that tweaking has been done. I just hope that it's been entered in a way that is going to make the system work for us.
Well, it absolutely looks like it is, Joan, but you're always going to find that maybe people have a different perspective on what they're entering, or maybe because they're the actual person doing it, they've found it works better this way or something like that. So.
Okay.
But I think you're right. Actually getting in and doing it, having these email notifications. Well, some people do once they first roll it out is they'll send them out weekly or bi-weekly just to get people used to seeing it and logging in and doing it. And then, you schedule it once a month after people kind of get used to it. It's kind of like a interactive training.
So
What else
this
would
is
you like
in
to go
there.
through?
I'm not sure if I have a next step or if this is going to start triggering and people are going to start using it, or we'll figure out together how they use it. I'm not sure what our next step is.
If you want to change the date here when it goes out, we can make it happen, anytime you want. Today is the 22nd. I don't know what day of the month that is, but you can go in and say, I want to trigger them on the 25th of each month or something like that, and get them started sooner if you want to do that. What if we said, how about the Tuesday of week 4 of the month? So next week they should get a notification, and you can change that at will, anytime you want to.
Let's make it the Monday, just for
Okay.
beginning of the week sense. Okay. Anybody want to come up with a different date? I mean, would it be better to have it be this week so people could start looking around in it? need some response here.
Sure. Or if you start next Monday, start the beginning of March.
Yeah, it might be easier just to start for March.
Okay,
Okay.
so the first Monday of the month then,
Right.
one, which is
The-
next month.
So the first, yeah, so that'd be week 1 of the month. So that'd be the first Monday in March.
Okay, so nobody wants to try it this week, I guess is what we're saying. Okay,
I'll be out the rest of the week at clinic, so I honestly just don't have the time to kind of finagle
Okay.
with it.
okay. All right.
Well, if anybody has any trouble getting in, any issues like that, Joan, please give them my contact information. Feel free to pick up the phone and call me, text me, email me. I'll get right back with you and help you through whatever you need.
Okay, and Fred, I have to now send people their login information. Is that correct?
No, just send them that little, just what we went through in there. They go to login.vmsg-board.com, hit the send button, put in your email address, send again. It'll send them their email. Then they can go log in. I sent you that in an email, the little table that says, here's the steps you go through. And I can send it to you
Okay.
again if you like.
No, I probably have it if you send it to me. I do.
And
Okay.
if not, let me know. I just sent it back. I got it.
Yeah, no, I do have it.
Okay. Well, everybody,
Okay.
thank you so much for your time today. And again, feel free to reach out when you get to a point. I know you guys are all busy with everything going on with COVID and vaccinations, but maybe by the beginning of March, at least you'll have a few minutes to go in and look at this and give Joan any feedback on, this verbiage. If it was written like this, it might be better for you or something like that. And we'll get this thing all tweaked out.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, too.
Bye.